All right, I will go ahead and hand the meeting over to our Toastmaster for today, a young lady who always has a bright smile on her face. I would surmise that there is some inside joy that keeps that smile on her face, so I will hand it over to Saima.
Thank you, Mr. President. For me, since everybody was sharing their experience working from home, I have been working twice a week from home for the last 10 years. However, it was different from the last year because it just used to be me by myself in the house and there was no distraction or disturbance. However, now I have to share the work environment with my husband, who has a pretty loud voice, and he's always on the phone almost the entire day for meetings. So I have to make sure that I distance myself enough from him that we don't have an overlap in our meetings or in our conversations. He doesn't know yet when he's going back, but since last year was the very first time we've been together for so long, and it was kind of nice because we never had a chance to. I'm kind of not looking forward to his going back to work because I've gotten used to it now, to having his presence at home the whole day, the interaction that takes place throughout the day at meal times, etc., etc. For myself, yes, I am looking forward to going back because I do really miss the interaction with the other fellow workers in the office, the environment, all the hustle and bustle revolving around the young interns who were there. I really miss that when I do go now, which is just once a week. We are talking a lot about remote working these days, but actually it has been already on the rise for the last several years. And I think it has been fueled more by the gig economy, people who are working jobs with freelancing websites such as Upwork and Flex Jobs and other sites of this nature. It was already, a lot of organizations were already promoting remote work. So we were already going in that direction. It is not something new that we are having to come to terms with. How soon we go back to work obviously depends on a couple of major factors, which is how soon everybody gets vaccinated and also when schools start to open. And since Brandon was mentioning children, I'd like to add that my daughter's school recently announced that they might start going back to school full time right after spring break starts. And my daughter was devastated to hear that announcement. And I couldn't believe that. I thought she would be really, really happy to go back to work. I was like, why are you so upset? And she said, Mama, can you imagine going back to school, going to school the whole day, then coming back and then working on our homework? I was like, isn't that the way things always were for you? She was like, yeah, but now it's different. So for kids, I guess they're not all looking forward to going back to work. She's on a hybrid schedule right now. We'll talk more as the meeting progresses. Since we don't have any speeches scheduled for today, I think we'll go right into our table topics, and I'll hand it over to our table topics master, Brandon. Please take it away.
Thank you, Saima. Appreciate that. I'll say first off that, Becky, I always appreciate all of the on-point topics, current affair topics that you bring to us. Certainly makes for some good conversations and hopefully some good questions and some great responses. And I will actually start with Lauren. Lauren, think back in the distant past, over a year ago now, back when we would gather together, maybe in a break room perhaps, and we would blow on a cake and other people would actually eat it afterwards. Can you imagine what that would look like in the future for non-family gatherings? Is this something that will ever happen again?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. The question of if American culture will be squeamish about germs in the future is, I think, one still to be answered. However, if we consider other cultures, I think they're already a little more squeamish than we are. There's cultures where you bow and you don't shake hands. A lot of other countries wear masks if they're feeling unwell. I think that we might see America start to take on some of those habits, at least some Americans will. I think for most Americans, they'll just go back to the way things were. I think that's just how a lot of people have been raised and learned to, they're just not squeamish about germs, even knowing what can come of it. I know for myself, I went to a small gathering this weekend and the birthday boy blew out the candles on the cake, and I thought to myself, well, I guess I'm not eating cake today. However, if I was vaccinated and this is in the future, I would eat the cake. I would definitely eat the cake. I'm really looking forward to getting back to shaking hands with people. When I was in business school, that was one of the things I love practicing my handshake on people. And I think it's a really great way to kind of build that connection with someone new. And I especially love hugging people. I feel like it makes everyone feel really good. It's kind of like a smile, but with physical touch. I'm looking forward to eating cake again, to shaking hands again, and to hugging people again. And I might be a little more precautious if I'm ill, but other than that, I'll probably go back to my same habits. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Lauren, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking that one. My next question is going to be for Rick. Rick, I can time you, or if you think you can time yourself.
I can time myself.
Okay, all right. Okay, Rick. During the pandemic, I've spoken with several people that have purchased a second home solely for the purpose of working from a location, a geography that they find more pleasant. Arizona, Florida, places like that. Thinking about this for yourself with this work anywhere mentality, would you ever consider purchasing an additional home with the thought, hey, I can work anywhere?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Would I purchase a second home thinking I can work anywhere? One of my good friends likes to say, I'm so cheap, I squeak when I walk. You can guess the answer to that question. No, I'm not buying another home. I will say this year during the pandemic, I was able to leave on December 18th and work from my mom's house in Palm Springs, California until January 31st. I am all over this idea of remote working. I would VRBO a place for a month. I would crash with friends. I would crash with family. But unfortunately, fortunately for me, unfortunately for your question, I am not buying another home. They're too expensive as it is. I don't even want to own my current home. I would much rather rent, but my lifestyle of listening to very loud music all the time doesn't really work so well in an apartment building. I think there's a lot of people that do that. I know my daughter, for example, lives in New York City, and she has lots of friends that have family in the area, and many of them did just what you're talking about. Bought a home in upstate New York, commute there for a month or 2 months or 6 months. Same thing happened with another friend of hers whose parents bought a place in the Boston area. These are rich people, obviously. I can't be doing that sort of thing. Like I said, I've worked remotely since 2001. I would surmise that most people are pretty anxious about staying in their own homes for this long and would love to have the pocket change to buy another home. But the reality of life is it's not going to happen for me. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Rick. Appreciate that answer. As a veteran, I knew that of working from home, I knew you'd be able to handle that one quite well. All right. Miss Becky, are you ready to take a question?
Indeed.
All right. Imagine this. Your business is allowing employees back into the office. However, they are only allowing vaccinated employees into the office. What would your opinion be of this approach?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. The question is, how would I feel if my employer mandated or required vaccinations for people to come back into the office? I think I'm about to see something like that play out here at work, in fact. In my current office, vaccinations are not required. There will, however, be a firm return to work date. This will be unpopular with many employees who, as we have discussed already during this call, have grown quite accustomed to working from home, to eating their lunch outside, to wearing pajama pants during the day. All of these things that make work-life balance a little easier and more enjoyable is understandable. However, I work for a private company, which means somebody owns this place and makes the rules and makes decisions, and that's how it's going to be. I personally would feel more comfortable if I knew that everybody coming back through those doors was vaccinated. I don't know whether that is going to be part of the requirements. I could see how it could be used the other way around, though, meaning that an employee who doesn't want to come back to the office might use that as an excuse. I'm not on board with the vaccine. I have hesitations about the vaccine, therefore I'm not going to get it, and I need to stay home longer. I could see that happening. For that reason, I'm not sure if it's going to be a factor in the return to office communications. I will be the one who will know, since I'm writing such communications. I will share this story, though, piggybacking on something Lauren said about people being sick and being more cautious. This morning, somebody walked up to my cubicle and said she felt sick and was thinking about going home. It's the first time I've been around a sick person since this all started. And I physically withdrew when she said that. It was a subconscious thing that happened. And I apologized immediately after, but then I asked her to leave. These are the reactions that I think we're all going to experience as we try to return to some sense of normality. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Becky, for that response. I certainly appreciate that. I can't recall whether it was here or somewhere else where I'd mentioned that it's been over a year since I've had a cold. I wonder if there's a correlation. All right, we will finish up with Saima. Saima, just looking at things from the opposite standpoint, some employers are incentivizing their employees to become vaccinated. Gift cards, additional vacation days, reduced health care costs. If you needed to be incentivized to take the vaccine, what would speak to you, appeal to you, that you would say, yes, I'm willing to get the vaccine so that I can get this incentive?
Thank you, Brandon. The question is, what incentives would appeal to me to take the vaccine? Well, firstly, I don't think I need an incentive because it's common sense. If you want to be safe in this environment, if you want to go on with your normal life as before, you need to get the vaccine if you want to go back to living like you used to before. However, if I was one of those people who was on the fence about whether I should be getting a vaccine or not, there are a couple of things which I feel would appeal to me as incentives. One would be, ironically, the option to have flexible work arrangements, which is being able to work from anywhere or log in from anywhere for work. And I would appreciate having the option of either coming in for 5 times a week if I wanted to, or working from home all the time I wanted to, or being in any other city and being able to work. So I think that is one thing that would be really very appealing for me. And the second thing would be an increased vacation time as well. although if I was working from home, I could work from a very nice location, such as a beach in Florida or in California, and enjoy the vacation at the same time as I'm working. But to have an official number of increased vacation days would actually be really great, because I would really love the opportunity of being able to have some additional time with my family and totally tune out from work and focus on just having fun. And that is another area that I would like. Gift cards, I guess Amazon would be great because we buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, and in the last 1 year, since we've hardly ever been out to stores, etc., almost all our purchases have been made through Amazon. I've even bought rice on Amazon, which I've never ever done in my life before, because I was looking for a particular brand that it wasn't available in the store. So Amazon gift cards would really be awesome. I also like to use Amazon because I'm able to help the organization that I work for, because through Amazon Smile, you get your donations actually help. Amazon donates a part of your purchase to the organization that you are trying to support. And since we have so many purchases on Amazon, it really helps a lot. I think these are the three things that would really help, would incentivize me. One is the increased vacation time. One is the gift cards, and the biggest factor is the flexibility to be able to work from anywhere. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Saima. Appreciate that response. Thinking about what I've mentioned, I've talked to a few people that have purchased other homes. One is a former boss of mine. I haven't actually spoken with her directly. One of my fellow employees mentioned to me she purchased a home in the city where her son has moved to, I believe with the ideal that she'll have a built-in renter once they decide to leave, or perhaps even sell him the home directly. I'm not sure. I thought that was a great way to kill two birds with one stone, as it were. So many different things going on in this world with the vaccine, or excuse me, with COVID. One last thing I'll mention, a friend of mine, I was at a meeting last week at church, spoke with a friend of mine. He mentioned his daughter, who is a scientist, has not left her home for a year. Everything that she's gotten, groceries, whatever it is, she's had it delivered to her or someone has brought it to her. She has not left her home. I was amazed. I guess we do what we have to do. All right, we will go ahead and move forward with our meeting and ask our timer, Rick, for our times, please.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Lauren spoke for 1 minute, 42 seconds. I spoke for 2 minutes, 6 seconds. Becky spoke for 2 minutes, 36 seconds, but it was worth it because that story at the end was funny. And Saima set the record for 2 minutes, 46 seconds.
Thank you so much, Rick. Appreciate that. All right, now it's time to hear the responses or evaluations of those responses, I should say. Please help me welcome our evaluator who is carrying the heavy load today with all of the evaluations. Please help me welcome Kay.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. Lauren had a question about whether somebody will enjoy the cake when it was blown away. After all this that we have gone through in this last 1 year of contamination and germ phobia in general, you repeated the question. You used the word squirmish, which was pretty good, is trying to not have fun of things that we used to. And you said some people may not go back to what used to be a fun thing, like cutting a cake and enjoying it after the candles have been blown. Use good gesture, vocal variety. You smiled a lot. At times you used, I find, a couple of times, which I know we all have our own way of expressing what you feel. Maybe you can make a sentence in a different way expressing your feeling. That will be my only suggestion. You, in the end, came to the position that you are not the squirmish type of person. You will enjoy whatever you have been enjoying all along. And maybe it was a challenge for us to think about it too. I will move on to our second participant, Rick. Your question was whether you rent or buy a second home to enjoy good weather all year round, if you have it, because you will have a choice of working remotely. You also repeated the question, which gave you some time about thinking about your response. You quoted your friend, and it was an obvious answer to what your approach will be, which was pragmatic and financially. You didn't want to invest into something, a new home. You gave examples of how you would still work from different areas, from different people's home, which also added to your pragmatic financial approach to this question. You had a good vocal variety. You smiled a lot. Your gestures, as sometimes I have gestures just at the level where it's not completely seen, I would just add that you may add your gesture to be seen completely. Your time was good, 2 minutes and 6 seconds. The next one was Becky. You repeated the question about whether the employees can demand only vaccinated people or employees to work. You addressed the audience, repeated the question, and then you gave answer to against that policy as well as for that policy. You felt for the work-life balance, some people may just want to not come back to work full-time, and what reasons they can give for that, about not being vaccinated as a good reason, which won't last too long, considering whatever pace of vaccination has been. You had good gestures, good vocal variety. At times you looked up or closed your eyes, which we all do it. In the end, you summarized what you felt was right in your opinion. Your time was 2 minutes, 36 seconds, just about right. Our evaluation has to be 2 to 3 minutes, just slightly in the normal range, right? Next was Saima. Your question was, what incentive appealed to you to take the vaccine? You also repeated question, and you gave reason that it won't be any incentive that you will need, that you will be willing to take the vaccine anyway. However, you also incorporated what other incentive you could enjoy that could be offered to you, like gift card and time off to enjoy more vacation or time or travel somewhere else. You smiled a lot. You had good vocal variety. I didn't see any gestures from you. Sometimes you can incorporate that in your response. In the end, you summarized, and your time was good, 2 minutes and 46 seconds, slightly longer, but you still managed to get it together. Back to you, Toastmaster, Saima.